Hello everyone. Now let's talk about Python, and today we will learn about the variables in Python, how to add comments, and we will also see how to declare a simple function and call that function. So let's get started. Let's launch a new notebook. In that notebook we will create the markdown and code cells. So let's create a new notebook from the new section. Let's call this notebook as lecture 1, and we can say that as variables, comments, and function. So if you click B on you from your keyboard, then you can add cells below, and if you click A, then you can add more cells above. And to make the cell as markdown, you can choose from here and make it markdown, or you can press M from your laptop and see and M to make it as the markdown cell. So let's put that as variables. Okay, for the variables, we can divide the variables in two parts. Like when you declare a variable, you need to be careful that is that the correct way of declaring a variable. So we can say that as legal variable names. Okay, and then similarly we can say that illegal variable names. So we can see the we will see a few examples as well to understand this properly. So let's create a variable and we just call it as my variable and put a name inside it. If I press command enter, or you can run from here as well, that we can see that there is no error right now, so which means this is the legal way of declaring a variable. Let's try and declare a variable, and for example, I say to my variable equals John, and when I click command enter, we can see that it says that is invalid syntax, which is called a syntax error because we can't write to on the beginning of any variable. Similarly, if we try underscore in a variable name, for example, we write a variable name my underscore variable, then we can see that there is no error, which means this is the correct way of declaring a variable. Then, for example, if we try a my dash variable and we put, for example, 123, command enter, and we can see that it's a operator which is minus, so we can't declare this variable as well. Okay, if we put an underscore at the beginning of my variable and then see um, if there is another error or not, so we can see that this correctly fine. And then if we try to put, for example, dash on the start, so it will work, it will give an error as well. So if we will put my space variable and let's try what it says, it says that you can't put a space on the beginning as well. Similarly, like we saw earlier, that we cannot put space between the variables as well. So now you have started learning that which is the correct way of declaring variables and which is the illegal or incorrect way of declaring a variable. Similarly, if you want to make a variable with one capital character, then let's try it out and see how it's respond. That it's the fine way of doing that. If you have all of your characters as capital, then let's see what it says. Yeah, this one is also fine. And we saw here that if we put 2 or numeric value at the start, then it gives an error. Let's try it out and put at the end and then see if that gives an error or not. So we can see there is no error, so which means that we can put 2 at the end. I mean, we can put a variable correct. Along with the characters, we can put the numbers, but not at the start. Okay. So this is now you can see that how to declare the variables. Then sometimes you have variables you want to assign. Excuse me. So for example, you have multi variables with one value. This is one way of saying it. So for example, if you have x, y, and z, three variables, and you have a value saying apple, you can assign this that the multivariables with one value. Let's try it out. So if we print x, similarly if we try to print y and then print z, then we can see that excuse me, that x, y, and z have the same value apple. Let's try one more thing that we have. If we have multivariables with multiple values, very interesting. For example, if you have x comma y comma z as apple, banana, and orange, so what do you think how it will work? So let's try it out. If we print x, we can see, okay, that's fine, x is the first variable, apple is at first place. Let's try out y, and then we can see y is banana and z is the orange. So this is how we can, here we give one value to all variables, here we are giving multiple values to multiple variables accordingly. Then let's try out the comments. So how actually comments work, let's see. Comments are very easy in Python. You just put hash in the start of the comment and then see this is a comment, for example. And here you can have any variable, like for example, my variable equals king, and then you can my variable print. So now you can see that this is a comment. So this is this line working as a comment. It's not affecting the code or anything. Then we have multi-line comments. That's a little tricky. You can have three single apostrophes, and then you can say this is a comment which is multi-line. But here we can see that excuse me, once you run it, you can see that it's printing something which should not be. So you need to declare something, like you can see that v equals 1, and then once you write some code, then it will disappear. So this multi-line comment only works when you have some code inside the block as well. Then let's talk about a simple function. So for example, if we define a, let's call it as function. So for example, if we define a function sum, and in that function we say a equals 1 plus 2, uh, and then we print a. So let's call this function here, and once you call it, you can see the sum is 3. How actually it's working is that this function is defined as a sum name, and then you have variable a which has values of 1 plus 2, and then it will print whatever will be the answer inside the a. Once you call that function sum, it will go inside, it will plus those values, put inside the variable a, and then you can print it out. So for example, if I put 4 and then I call this function again, and then we can see that um, it's easily printing those values. So hopefully you will like this lecture. In the next lecture we will learn more interesting things. Today we have learned about the legal variable names, illegal variable names. If we do not put the right name properly, then it will give an error. Then we have saw that how we can assign the values to the variables, how we can write the comments. Regarding the comments, there is one more uh, tip for you peoples, is that if you have, for example, you want to put comments against multiple lines, then for example you want to comment all these lines, you select them and you can press command slash. Okay, by pressing that it will be converted into comments as well, and if you want to remove it you can press again command slash for the comment. So you can delete the cells by double clicking the D button on the keyboard. So thank you so much for watching. See you in the next lecture.